One of the challenges of leadership, it's leading leaders. It seems like it should be the easier thing to do, but leading followers, it's the most easiest thing to do, because everything you say, they agree, right? Followers will agree to everything, but leaders will want to question everything that you are saying, and they will want to know what is the source of what you are saying. Where do you get it from? How did you arrive at that decision? So we, as leaders, sometimes we want to understand the permutations that you went through to come to that conclusion that this is what we are going to do. So it becomes very difficult to lead leaders. That is why people are not mentoring anyone to take after them. That's a biggest challenge. So leading leaders requires grace. Because they are going to sometimes question you. Sometimes they're not questioning you, but they just want to understand your decision-making process. Because once they understand your decision-making process, they are able to make decisions based on the same process that you follow. So it should not be sort of a contentious issue when leaders ask you such questions. Amen. So I want to speak to take from where we left yesterday. Just quickly give a summary of what we spoke about yesterday and then continue from there. We said yesterday that succession planning, it's more about business continuity, sustainability, and longevity of the organization. So we need to keep the organization running even beyond us. And as it was said this morning, that succession planning is not only the leader or the founder of the organization who's responsible for it. When you are deployed to a specific ministry or specific position at your workplace, you are responsible to raise someone who will come after you. One of the things that most organizations are going through is that if you ask those who are working in finance or HR, they will tell you that the biggest cost of any company is replacing staff, because they do not have the talent to take over immediately. They have to go out there, search for talent. And the reason why we go out there to search for talent is that we did not do proper succession planning. So we need to balance things. We need to have proper succession planning in place, even though the person is going to replace you. Because sometimes we want to make sure that I embed myself in this position, that nobody can do what I'm doing, such that even if they think of firing me, there's a committee that is going to be set up somewhere to say, count the cost of losing this individual. Now, that's what most of us do in companies that we work for. We make sure that we become irreplaceable, and that perhaps the company cannot function without me. So those are some of the challenges that we are facing. Those are the things that we need to deal with as leaders. That as a leader, you need to make yourself irrelevant to the position that you are occupying at the moment. And irrelevant doesn't mean, normally when we talk about succession planning, people think of age, right? They think, I'm still young. There's no need for succession planning. But succession planning has got nothing to do with age. It has got everything to do with you trying something new now and then. Saying that I will not be doing the thing that I was doing 10 years ago. So succession planning is a mandate for each and every leader in every sphere of the organization. We can't be looking at those who are occupying high positions, the CEOs and those ones, to say that, but why didn't they find a successor within the same organization? Whereas even where we are seated, we are not planning anything. We are not developing any person. So I want to start from where we left off on integrated succession planning. We said that one of the things that you need to do, I think the slides will be on there. Understand what matters to the organization. That means there are key competencies and skills. When you have identified them, you don't just leave them there. That I have identified them, I know that this is where the organization is going in the near future. Therefore, these are the skills that we will need. And then you stop right there. You need to develop those skills within the organization. You start developing them. You can't leave succession planning to chance, to say that maybe somewhere, somehow, someone will emerge. And when we pray that God bring us leaders, we are saying, God, give us strategies to raise leaders. We are not saying that God will plant leaders from nowhere, just, all of a sudden, there are people who will do what we consider relevant in the organization. You check what are the areas of difficulty within the organization. What are those areas where you think you do not have enough capacity, you do not have enough capability and skills within the organization? Can you develop those skills within? I'll give you an example. Let's say, for instance, Apostle spoke about when he was doing vision casting beginning of this year, he spoke about numbers, the power of numbers, that this year we're going to be concentrating on numbers. Those who are here know what I'm talking about, right? Now, when we talk about numbers, it means that there is going to be analysis of those numbers so that the numbers can tell a story. So we need storytellers using numbers. And those people are called data analysts. So then it means it's up to us within the organization to say that Gateway Church International needs data analysts. Do we develop ourselves to become better data analysts, or do we go outside the organization? What are we going to do? Are we going to outsource this area? Or are we going to recruit someone to come into the organization and we start training them? That's part of succession. Succession is not just someone taking over the organization. Okay. Succession doesn't mean that we're looking for the replacement of Apostle Eddie. It means that we need continuity. No, we're not replacing your apostle. We still have a lot to learn from you. We can't survive without you yet. Okay, so we develop those skills. And those skills, I call them, as a leader, I normally say that you are accessorizing your limitations. You look at your limitations, you look at the things that you are unable to do, you look at people who will be able to fill those positions and do those things. That way you are preserving your time as well. Because you're not going to be struggling trying to, with lots and lots of Excel spreadsheets, trying to analyze this data and you don't know what to do. You have developed someone within the organization. And I know that when I talk about that, you're thinking that, it's going to be, the cost is enormous. It's expensive to train people. But have you considered the cost of not training them? Pastor Stella normally says that when you're saying, if I train people, they leave, what if they stay? And you haven't trained them. So the organization remains, in fact, it does not remain at the same place. It's regressing. It's not growing. So you need to make sure that you cover all the angles within the organization. What do we want to protect and preserve within our vision? What is it that we want to preserve and protect? Apostle spoke about focus, and that's what I'm talking about here. You need to have focus. Know what is it that we want to preserve in this organization. What is it that we want to protect? We want to make sure that the next generation is able to continue without any hindrance, without any difficulties. You know, I love reading, and I also love research, unfortunately. So the other day I was just reading about, some of you might know that your smartphones do eavesdropping. The other day I was reading something, and on what I was reading, I saw the name of Bishop Garlington. I was like, oh, wow, Bishop Garlington on this particular article. And then I'm sitting there, I go on to Google to check something. As I press J, it says Joseph Garlington. And then I went there to check what is it saying about Bishop Garlington. And I saw something, very interesting when it talks about the Covenant Church of Pittsburgh. It says that it's a multicultural and multi-generational. I was more interested in the multi-generational, to say that he has built something that is not for this generation. And that article was not written by anyone from Covenant Church of Pittsburgh. So they consider his church to be a multi-generational church. And I've never heard him saying that it's a multi-generational church. So it wasn't him who told them. That is what I talked about yesterday when I said you need to have a signature approach. What do people know you of? The signature approach is in other, I think in IT, those who are from IT, it's called a fingerprint approach. A unique approach that you are known for as an organization. You need to have that as an organization, so that even when you are mentoring and training people, they know what to focus on and they know what not to focus on. Otherwise, everyone will be all over the place doing things they are not supposed to do. Understand what matters to the organization. Reimagine the organization without you. Very difficult. Can you reimagine the position that you are holding, even at workplace, without you? One of the things that we all need to know is that when you mentor people, especially people who might occupy the position that you are occupying, you're giving yourself opportunity to fire yourself. Some years back, I had an opportunity to speak to, he was still the CEO of Exaro at the time, Sipho Nkosi, and he said something to me that he said, in my team, I'm the laziest person. And I asked him, a lazy CEO? He said, no, I've mentored everyone to an extent that I'm left with nothing to do. I don't know what to do. And he said he's left with 3 years to retire. And when those 3 years came, he retired from being the CEO. And within a space of 2 months, he was appointed the chairman of the board of Sasol. A company that might look like it's a competitor to his company, which is Exaro. Because Sasol is also an energy company. But he became the board chair of the same company. Because he had nothing else to do at Exaro. He had mentored people to an extent that he was getting bored in the office. And perhaps that's why the president appointed him to deal with the issues of red tape within the business environment in SA. That he's not that busy anymore. So you need to reimagine the organization without you in your position that you are occupying. And then you need to unfreeze. And I said yesterday, the reason why I use the word unfreeze is that when you build an organization, you build a culture in an organization. And that culture, sometimes you build it around you as a leader. And you freeze it to say there is nothing that can be done outside of this. Nothing can be done outside of this. So you need to go to unfreeze and say, is there anything better than what I am doing? You allow new ideas to flow in. Because if it is frozen, no new ideas will come in. And all what I have been saying brings us to this particular slide where I give you a framework of leadership development that will help you to develop people that can be able to run the organization effectively and efficiently. So you identify them. Once you have identified them, you share with them the vision of the organization. And the thing that I use normally in terms of a framework to identify leaders, it's the BIGS model. So the BIGS, as I said yesterday, stands for the B is behavior, because you're going to model them around behavior. You're going to check them whether they behave the way that is consistent to what you desire in the organization. And then you check their experience. What is their experience? And experience here is not just work experience. It's experience of life. It's experience of their church where they come from. I come from, Ezioni. That's my background. And one of the things as Zion we used to do is to stay at church the whole day. When it's Sunday. The whole day you are in church. And my grandmother would not allow me to sneak out and go home and eat. So what are the things that I have experienced under my leaders at Zion? Maybe they were abusive leaders. And when I come here, I look at Apostle Eddie and Prophet Stella. Whenever they say they want 1, 2, 3, it triggers that experience. The experience of abuse. And then I go around saying, hey, my pastors are very abusive. But they are not abusive. It's just that where I grew up, whatever was required, I thought people were being abusive. And sometimes you find that people were just straightening you. You were not aligned, they were aligning you, but you thought they are being abusive. Or sometimes there was abuse, and then you begin to associate leaders with abuse. Every time you speak to a leader says something to you, or when the leader says, but you cannot do 1, 2, 3. You are not allowed to do 1, 2, 3. And they even give you biblical principles around that particular experience. For you, because you have been experiencing abuse, it gets triggered, you're saying they are abusive. So we need to check that experience. Attitude. What is their attitude towards leadership? Do they feel, whenever they see the CEO or anyone, or if you are at a mall, you are about to meet with your manager, you see your manager first, and then you get into a shop that you are not going to buy anything. It says something about you, about your relationship that you have with the leaders. It says something about your attitude towards your leaders. And I'm more speaking to those who aspire to be in leadership positions here. Are you scared to greet them outside the church environment or the work environment? Knowledge and skill. There was a quote that Pastor Stella made this morning that if you don't read, don't lead. Something like that. Or leaders are readers, right? So leaders are always in constant pursuance of knowledge. You cannot lead when you are not pursuing knowledge. There is just no way. You are going to be applying things that are outdated. I subscribe to Harvard Business Review. As I said, I like reading. And there is always something new in the leadership space. There are always findings that, the things that we used to think, in the past, we used to teach about leadership styles. And I'm sure you haven't had any person somewhere, especially those who teach about leadership, talking about leadership styles. But if you don't read, you will get stuck there that we're talking about leadership styles. So we need to read as leaders. We need to make sure that we continuously develop ourselves. And if you aspire to become a leader, continuous improvement in your knowledge and skills, it's a must. Otherwise, you're also making it very difficult for the person who's mentoring you to mentor you properly. And I know some mentors like giving assignments, like they will give you a book to go and read. So if you don't like reading, what are you going to do with the book? Because next time when you come back with a particular solution, they will ask you, have you read chapter so-and-so in that book? The solution is there. Okay. And then the second part on the slide is a build. It's capacity building, basically. You build leadership capacity. And I said yesterday to you, one of the most important things when you build leaders and when you mentor and coach is to spend time. Internet had made it even easier for us. That spending time doesn't mean that you have to be together physically. There are people that personally I am mentoring. Some of them I'm coaching. And I have never met them. We have never had a physical meeting. Our meetings are online. And it is both it is convenient for both me and them, because some of them are outside the Mpumalanga. I've got two people that I'm mentoring. They based in KZN. So if we were to have physical meetings, it will also become too expensive for all of us. But again, the cost sometimes should not be an element that comes in when you are building leaders. You need to know that you are, or I will use this quotation that says, if you think acquisition of knowledge or education is expensive, count the cost of ignorance. Maybe if you can spend money in ignorance and see what it will produce. Support. You need to inculcate culture of high performance, and you need to support that culture of high performance. Then you need to allow your leaders to multiply. And then as I conclude, succession preserves your success. That's what succession do. It preserves your success. The greatest investment of leadership is developing leaders. As much as it is difficult, but that's the best you can give to humanity. If there is any gift that you can give to this world, develop leaders. It doesn't matter how fast you ran, but if you drop the baton, you have failed the team. In a marathon, there is only one winner. But leadership is not a marathon. Leadership is like a relay. There is a team. So when one wins in a leadership, the whole team has won. And as I said, you never leave mentoring to chance. True leadership is about continuity. And true leaders are always training their replacement. It's one of the most difficult things to do. Failure to raise a successor is a cancellation of your success. The greatest act of leadership is the ability to live, not to stay. And I think we have got a great example in our nation that Nelson Mandela, when he was a president, he committed that he's going to be president for one term because he was old. He wanted to give others a chance. Even though the nation still wanted him to lead, he said, it is better to live when they still want you. No, Pastor Stella, we can't allow that. We can't allow you to leave, Pastor Stella. I think it's still too early. So, in conclusion, I want to ask, or let's ask ourselves this question. If we measured your leadership success by the success of your successor, would you still consider yourself a successful leader? I'm saying this because I'm assuming that at some stage you are going to sit back and see your successor running the show. Based on their success, will you consider yourself a successful leader? Let's ponder on that question. Think deep about it. As I thank you for your time, thank you for being here. Thank you.